The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Many of the Jews who had come to Mary and seen what Jesus had done began to believe in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees convened the Sanhedrin and said, "What are we going to do? This man is performing many signs. If we leave him alone, all will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our land and our nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing, nor do you consider that it is better for you that one man should die instead of the people, so that the whole nation may not perish." He did not say this on his own, but since he was high priest for that year, he prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation, and not only for the nation, but also to gather into one the dispersed children of God. So from that day on, they planned to kill him. So Jesus no longer walked about in public among the Jews, but he left for the region near the desert, to a town called Ephraim, and there he remained with his disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was near, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. They looked for Jesus and said to one another, as they were in the temple area, "What do you think? That he will not come to the feast?" The Gospel of the Lord. Yeah, the schemers are at it when you read today's gospel. You know, Jesus had just raised Lazarus from the dead after being dead in the tomb for 4 days. And now most people are amazed and they believe in Jesus, but some go to the Pharisees. So, both of today's readings are about unity and peace. And both of the situations take place in the midst of a lot of turmoil, violence, and conflict. And the first reading from Ezekiel about unity and peace is a prophecy. And our gospel today actually has a strategy for unity and peace. Now, in that first reading from Ezekiel, it's about 580 years before Christ. Israel has been divided into a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom for over 300 years, because Solomon's sons couldn't get together and get along. They divided the country into two. And about 140 years before today's reading, the northern kingdom of Israel, so the land like north of Jerusalem, that's that section, they were taken into exile by the Assyrians, and so they were dispersed among the peoples of Assyria and the land that Assyria, they were the ruled the empire at the time. And so they're dispersed all over. And now Ezekiel is with a second wave of Jews that are being exiled off into Babylon by the Babylonians. And so they are being dispersed. Their nation and people are being taken apart. And it's during this really lot of turmoil going on that Ezekiel makes his prophecy. And his prophecy is, "I will make them one nation, and there shall be one prince for them all. Never again shall they be divided into two kingdoms." So you can historically put yourself in that time and say, okay, we're going to come together. It's a message of hope that God is sending to the Jews at the time through the prophet Ezekiel, that we're going to be one nation again. But it's more than that. It's a prophecy for Jesus. So then he says, "My servant David," who died 400 years earlier, "my servant David shall be prince over them." So it's not really David. They're talking about Jesus, the root of Jesse. So Jesse's David's dad, and so it's through David's descendants that Jesus comes. So my servant David, read Jesus, shall be prince over them. They shall live by my statutes and carefully observe my decrees. And that is the secret for the unity and the peace, that they live by God's statutes and they observe his decrees. So incredible, beautiful prophecy by Ezekiel 580 years before Christ. So that's the prophecy. And in our gospel, there's two strategies. Jesus has just raised Lazarus from the dead. The Pharisees want to eliminate him. And so the Pharisees' strategy to maintain peace is to eliminate Jesus, kill the innocent man, and save the country. And their idea is that too many people are following Jesus, especially after he raised Lazarus from the dead. The Romans are going to get onto it. They're going to get suspicious. They're going to take away this tenuous relationship that we have between the Romans and the Jews. They're an occupied country. Romans are going to crack down on us, and we're going to lose the freedoms that we have. And we'll be dispersed. And so the solution, kill the innocent man. And so, but it backfires. Violence against the innocent, Jesus, ends up, actually the temple there, the center of worship for all the Jews, was destroyed only a few years after that, 33 years afterwards. The temple was destroyed, and the Jews are dispersed all over the place again. And so that's one strategy. And then there's Jesus' strategy. And Jesus' strategy, is the one that brings the unity and peace. Jesus calls us to be docile to the will of God. Docile to the will of God. In other words, obey God's statutes and commandments. Very similar to what was in that prophecy from Ezekiel. And then if we do that, then that brings unity and peace. And so you look at us today, there's a tremendous division among nations, among states, among parties, among families. Even within ourselves, there's a lot of turmoil, lack of peace, and division. And so today, we should pray for the love of God, the grace of God to come within us. So then we can start to be sources of unity and peace because of the way we follow God's laws, follow his ways, follow Jesus' ways. And then peace can start coming around us. The kingdom can be near us. Amen.